So guys, I've got a story for you tonight. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to talk about, you felt it too, deep down. If this story creeps you out, you already know what to do. Like, comment, and subscribe. They say some fears come baked into kids from birth. And some fears don't just scare kids. They build them from the inside out, piece by piece. And this is one of those stories. This is about a 10-year-old kid named John, a normal-looking kid on the surface, school friends, laughing too loud, scraped knees. But the second the sun dipped and the house slipped into nighttime quiet, something inside him snapped tight. John wasn't just scared of the dark. He was panic scared, the kind where your chest locks up and your heart pounds like it's trying to run without you, because to him, the dark wasn't empty space. It was crowded. Every night, once the lights went off and the house settled into that dead, heavy silence, John would lie there pretending to sleep, waiting, counting breaths, until just after midnight, when his eyes would pop open on their own and glue themselves to the wall across from his bed. At first, it was always fine, just a blank white wall, boring, harmless. But then a tiny black smudge would show up, like someone pressed a dirty thumb against the paint, and it would spread slow, real slow, stretching and twitching, until it turned into a shadow that didn't look human or animal or anything that should exist, just a shape that felt aware. John would lock up, unable to move or scream, his throat dry as sand, until the fear exploded out of him and he'd lose it, sobbing and screaming so hard his mom would come flying in, flip on the light, and the wall would be spotless again, like it was all in his head. Everyone said nightmares. Doctors shrugged. Pills got prescribed. He'll grow out of it. No one ever stopped to ask the one question that actually mattered. What if the fear wasn't alone? One night, sick of crying, sick of being the scared kid, John decided he wouldn't break. At exactly 12:03, the room dropped 10 degrees, cold enough to crawl under his skin, and the shadow came back clearer than ever before. This time, it had depth. Wait. Inside it, 2 hollow eyes peeled open, and a voice slipped into the room, whispering his name in a tone that sounded exactly like his own voice, bouncing around inside his skull. Then, it did the one thing it had never done. It stepped off the wall. It stood in the corner, tall, crooked, bent at angles that made John's brain scream wrong, and when he glanced down, he saw it had its own shadow stretched across the floor. When his mom burst in, light flooding the room, it vanished, and after that night, it never came back. Years rolled by. John grew up, moved out, got his own place. People said he beat it. That childhood fear finally burned out. But the truth hit him like a punch one night when he woke up right at midnight, stared at the wall across his bed, and smiled. Because the shadow wasn't there anymore. It was standing behind him. That's when everything clicked. The shadow had never been a ghost or a demon or anything supernatural crawling out of the walls. It was John, the part of him that learned to breathe in fear, the part that grew in the dark every night he survived it, waking up piece by piece until it was strong enough to stand on its own. That's why John didn't fear the dark anymore, because the dark belonged to him now. After that, sleep barely happened, not because he was scared, but because it felt familiar, comforting even. Mirrors lagged when he moved. His reflection smiled a second late. Sometimes when he talked, another voice rode underneath his words. Black stains crept across his walls like bruises. Neighbors started whispering about shadows moving wrong after midnight, kids screaming from nightmares they couldn't explain, and one old man finally said out loud what everyone was afraid to think, that the shadow was tied to one person, and that person was letting it spread. That night, John stood alone in his room, the shadow pressed flush against his back. No separation left, and it whispered, calm and excited, "Now it's their turn." John closed his eyes and let it all the way in. By morning, he was gone. No broken doors, no footprints, just a black handprint smeared across the wall, stretched outward like it was reaching for something. When the cops finally tore into the wall, the room went dead quiet and cold, like something was breathing through the cracks. Inside were hundreds of shadows packed tight, writhing, eyes wide open, and in the center stood John, not a kid anymore, eyes pitch black, smiling, his shadow standing on the floor instead of behind him as the wall split open into endless darkness that poured out and erased everyone in the room. The next morning, the house was empty, untouched, like nobody had ever lived there at all. But even now, people swear that if you stand on that land at exactly midnight and watch your shadow close enough, it might move just a second too late, and a voice you almost recognize will lean in close and whisper, "Name, John."